Apparently the video turned off. Sorry about that. I'm very passionate about my son, obviously, and I'm very passionate about dogs for autism. I have seen the benefit, and I know dogs can be trained for all different things. They can be trained for canine companions. I have a friend who works there who helped me train him, train Max with public access in school and the bus. I have friends who are trainers who have given me little hints and things. One of the reasons that autistic families fail in training the dogs or continuing with it is because the parents are so overwhelmed. They are so completely overwhelmed with an autistic child that adding anything else to it is just too difficult. And I get it. I understand that entirely. But the one benefit that you can have is bring a dog in and actually being able to sit down as the parent if you're willing to train the dog. Because sending a dog out to training, you can train the dog to sit, stay, you can train the dog to do all different kinds of things. Because look at canine companions, look at what they do. Center for Independence is amazing. And yet, the one thing that is lacking in all of it is the follow-up. You have trainers, but how many trainers can go into a home if the family members aren't willing to step up and do the training themselves? It's too difficult. And so what I find is with Oliver, even today, he is still being trained. The training never stops. And so the commitment has to be there. And so I've spoken to people who have dogs. I've helped train them, and I've done a lot of work. I'm just not certified. I have an autistic son. That's my certification in autism. I wish I could go back to school and actually get a degree, because I'm telling you, all these times, these poor parents who are put through the ringer, you know, the kid shows up, the kid's nonverbal, and the kids have bruises or scratches all over themselves. And the doctor immediately questions the parent, well, how did they get that? It looks like you grabbed them. I didn't grab them. I didn't grab my child. That's my child. I would never hurt my child. And yet they're seeing bruises and scratches. More children with autism have been removed falsely from their parents than actually legitimately. I mean, it's something that we as parents deal with. If you have a child that has autism, most likely you have had social services called on you. I kid you not. It is a thing. And the sad part is we're always looking to blame someone. We're always looking as a society, as humanity. We're always looking at the negativity in all of it instead of the positive parts of it. Yes, your son has autism, but guess what? That child is a gift. That child has the ability to play the piano even though they're nonverbal. That child hears something on the radio and all of a sudden sits down and plays that jingle on a keyboard. That child over there can count. That child over there knows how many tire rotations the bus takes in the morning between his house and school. Or this child over here knows every sports trivia question answered across the board for basketball. This child knows from the day that basketball started in the history of the United States, this child knows all of these things. They are a gift. They were born this way for a reason. And if we just as a society, as a whole, opened up and looked at what we could gain from these kids. Stephen has taught me so much about life. He has taught me so much about life. And the only way that he has been able to do it is with his dogs. Because Stephen without a dog is nonverbal, rocking in a corner. That was the prospect that I faced with Stephen. I faced doctors telling me to walk away from him. You know, I was talking to a woman who has a 40-year-old Down syndrome son. And she said, you know, they told me the same thing. And he works at McDonald's. It worked at McDonald's. And he cleans the counters. And she said, why would I give up my son and any chance I had to be there for him? And I recognize how hard it is, because every day is different. Every day is a lack of understanding for Stephen. But you have to, as a parent, understand that that is your child. And just because they struggle doesn't mean that you turn your back on them and treat them like like they can be easily brushed under a rug and put in an institution and walked away from. I expect things from Stephen. I don't allow him to be anything less than what his true potential is, and I believe his potential is beyond great. You know, I look at Temple Grandin and all she's been able to accomplish with the speeches and her life. And then I look at Stephen, who struggled in school so wholeheartedly. He was integrated and ended up running. He had issues with teachers. If the teacher had just taken a moment to say something or do something, it would have been amazing. And instead, that child is just suffering, and that parent is suffering along with them. The teachers are suffering, all of them, and it would take 3, 4, 5 seconds to just sit down and understand what the needs of that child is. You know, I have watched people rage. I have watched grown people rage with autism because they don't understand. They don't understand why something is, and that lack of understanding consistently happens over and over and over again. And so you see this pattern that forms. Doctors don't know what to do, so they medicate, or they give advice that doesn't work. Every autistic person is unique. Every unique person is a gift, and we could learn so much. Stephen's the bridge. He can walk in and see an autistic person who's nonverbal rocking in the corner and tell you why. He can tell the teachers how to handle a child who's raging. He can take a child who is completely gone and in the middle of a rage and tell the people around them, back off. Don't touch them. Don't try and stop it. If they're hitting their head for a reason. Let it go. Leave it alone. Give it space. The more times you go in to try and fix that situation, the worse you're going to make it. Until finally you're on the floor with your child in a basket hold, because the only thing you know to do, because that's what they tell you, is to put them in a basket hold, is to restrain them, sit on them. I've been told more times than I care to mention, just sit on him. Once the rage is done, he'll be fine. Okay, well, my son didn't want to be touched in that rage, in that moment, when everything was so overwhelming, when even the feel of air on his body hurt him. He didn't want to be touched. And yet we invade their space, and we take them and we hold them and we restrain them. And then we have a dog who stopped the rages by doing essentially the same thing, sitting down on the floor and holding Stephen down. Yet what does the dog do? There's no expectations. There's no verbal cues. There's nothing. There's just a dog who loves his boy, who sees his boy's having a hard time. And so he goes over and he puts his head in his lap. And as the kid is rocking and raging and having those moments, here's the dog. Here's the dog putting his head in his boy's lap. And something so simple, something so absolutely simple, people just don't understand. Humans, in general, from my observations, don't seem to understand each other. We don't take time to be kind to each other. We don't recognize the fact, especially in this day and age, we don't recognize the fact that, yes, Black lives matter, but all lives matter. All lives are precious. We are given one life. Until we go home, we are given one life. And we have to take that life and make the most of it. Every single day, you have to wake up and think of it as a gift. The people around you, maybe that person that is a horrible neighbor or a horrible person, maybe they're horrible for a reason. And while, you have the exceptions, obviously, I don't believe that all people are this scam artists or evil. I believe that we all are in this together. And if we don't do something together to fix the world in which we live in, we're lost. We're all God's children. And at this point, I will never you will never find me sitting and teaching my children other than to love every single person around them, whether they be disabled or whether they be black, white, Korean, Chinese, whatever it is, we're all in this world together. My only hope for this future is the fact that people like Stephen and people like my 5-year-old daughter can grow up and make the world a better place. And maybe someone will listen down the road. But the only way to keep Stephen functioning and keep Stephen in the place that he needs to be is with the dog. And it sounds like such a silly request. It sounds like a silly request because, you know what? Who would sit here and plead for a puppy? Except that I know it will save my son's life. Not just make it easier for me, not just, oh, look, here's a puppy. But that puppy becomes a part of Stephen, and it becomes a part of our life and our family. And the training that puppy will have full public access because I've done it. Not once have I looked at the dog and thought, you know what? I can't do that. I can't train you for that. Because I take the time to do the research. I reach out to trainers. I reach out to people to tell me what to do. Because I'm not an expert. I'm not an expert in anything. Even with autism, having the expertise of certain things, I'm not an expert. But if I can help ease the pain with my own experience of someone who's going through it, that is what matters, and that is the most important thing. Thank you so much. You have absolutely no idea what you have done in saving my son's life and saving the sorrow and the grief of losing Oliver and giving us the joy and the hope that maybe with Oliver passing, it could be looked at as another chapter. And the Charlie chapter is just beginning. And I'd be happy to share all of my training and any of the things that you have, any advice that anyone needs. I'm an open book. Ask me questions. Certain days are a little bit harder than most, but I am available. I'm here. My email address, mdbrief1977@yahoo.com. My phone number, 707-849-9222. Call me. Talk to me. Send my name out. You know someone who's struggling. I'll talk to him. I'll take the moment that it takes as a parent to sit down. I'll talk to him. You want to just call me up and have a conversation? Call me up and have a conversation. I'm here. I've got nothing going on that makes it so that I can't put down whatever I'm doing and take a moment and recognize the fact that I'm here. So, thank you so much for everything. And I hope this helps. Any other questions, concerns, anything, let me know. We are preparing for Charlie. We've already got the kennel, the big enough kennel on order. We've got his bed and his things already set up for Stephen so that Stephen can start moving forward. We have the pictures that were sent already printed and ready to go for social stories. And we're just moving forward. We're moving forward with looking at the hope of a new dog and the hope of a new day. Thank you so much for this. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. God bless. Bye-bye.